everyone, I'm Karen Koch. I'm a mixed media artist here in Hudson, Ohio. My studio is here on Main Street. We're in the historic district up on the second floor. I have a couple of us with studios here, and then we have artwork from several other artists too. But today I wanted to show you some of my summer themed artwork, right? We're in June, the sun is out, the sky is blue, and it's getting warm. This is my favorite time of year. So you'll see more summer themed artwork in my portfolio than you will all three other seasons combined. I just love this time of year. So before we get to the artwork, I did want to show you some of the scarves that I do. I do hand painted silk scarves. There's a lot of these in my Etsy shop and a lot of them here at Uncommon Art. This is one example. This is the bandana style, and this is perfect for summer to pull your hair up, tie around a ponytail. They can double as a face covering too. This is a sample, but I do also have quite a few that are in 4th of July type colors, red, white, and blue. So this one has a red border and then blue in the center, and this is just the reverse. This has blue around the edges and red in the middle. So, and then there are plenty of these in bright, summery, floral type colors. This one is a rainbow, so it goes from red, orange, yellow to green, and then the blue and the purple parts of the rainbow are folded inside. So I have lots of those in my shop. If you don't see a color combination that you want, please reach out. I can always do something special for you. So that said, let's move on to the artwork. I'm going to show you some of these pieces, and then I want to show you some of the papers I use to make the artworks, because I keep talking about this dictionary that I like to use and this French art history book, and I want to show you those before we go. So moving on, this piece on the left here is called Roots and Roads 1. This is one of my showpieces, really. It was done at a time in my life when I was thinking about where have I been, where am I going, thinking about how my past has influenced my present and my future. I kind of believe in the saying that you take yourself wherever you go. So, knowing where you come from helps you stay grounded as you grow and change. So the bottom of it is made with map. It's a map of the eastern half of the US. There's stitching in it. Those lines that run through the map are thread and stitching. There's yarn going up the tree trunk. The background is dictionary page. There's some paint. There's all kinds of things in that piece, but it's really one of my favorites. It's very, very sentimental. And then next to it on the bottom is another from the Roots and Roads series. This one's a little bit different. It has a path that winds through that rocky landscape, and along the path there's a piece of thread that follows the path and helps guide you as you're navigating that pathway. The little buttons in there are vintage buttons. I don't think they came from my grandmother's button box, but they're vintage buttons, although they might have. But they help act as landmarks along the pathway. So again, this Roots and Roads series is really important to me. The piece above it is a summer tree picture. I did that inspired by some trees along a canal in France where I went on vacation one time. The trees themselves are made of a French art history book that I painted green and tore into pieces. I'll show you that book too in a moment. So I was over at the farmer's market one morning and was doing some sketching and was just so taken with the big fields of sunflowers and the people and the vendors and the booths and all of that. I just had to do an artwork inspired by it. That lady walking around with her bag slung over her shoulder, all of it. So this one uses a lot of papers that I've painted. There is some map in it way in the background and some other papers, but it's a lot of papers that I either painted or printed myself. So I'll show you that in just a moment too. I've got some of the little minis that I like to do. They're little collage artworks on panel, and I pulled out some of the summer ones, but there's a lot of them in my shop. So I've got some butterflies and flowers,
The one on the right reminds me a little bit of a sailboat, or it has kind of a watery feel to it. It's really neat. Those, I just love that little size. It's fun to work with, and I find that they're great for just putting just a little bit of color in a little space wherever you want to tuck them. They're really fun. Next to that, we have two pieces with envelopes and butterflies. I love envelopes. I find them fascinating. You know, you get an envelope in the mail that's got some handwriting on it, you know it's from a real person, and there's that moment of excitement when you wonder, what's inside? What is it? Is it for me? Well, it's for me. It's got my name on it. But what's going to come out of there? So I had this idea of envelopes bursting forth with something wonderful, and so these both are releasing butterflies. They're real envelopes. They were envelopes people actually sent to me. The butterflies came from a book from the 1880s. A friend gave me a few pages from it, so I cut the butterflies out and used it in artwork. And then next to that, we have my tall tree, which was inspired by a trip to Oregon. Again, that has the same French art history book pages in the middle of the tree that I painted green. And then the colors around it were other papers that I painted and tore into the pieces to go around the edges of the tree. And then next to that, so this one is called There She Grows. It has a hand reaching up and flowers and trees and sort of an abstract landscape. This one is called Finding the Way. So again, abstract landscape with a figure laying across the front there underneath the mountains. That figure is made out of map, and there's stitching running all through it. These two were both shown in the National Collage Society's postcard show several years ago, different years. They call it now the small format show. So those are small. They're 4 by 6 inches. They're both in my Etsy shop, but I have them just unframed. If you want them with the frame, that's something we can do for you at Uncommon Art. I really don't want to ship the glass, you know. And then the last one is at the bottom. Palm tree again. I'm fond of palm trees. You know, nothing says summer, vacation, exotic than a palm tree. This one has sheet music, vintage sheet music in the back. Oh, and graph paper. Oh, it's got graph paper in the back too. It's just got wonderful colors and textures. So again, that one is in my Etsy shop, and it is also at Uncommon Art. So then the last thing I want to show you are some of the books I use. So I keep talking about this French art history book that I picked up at a secondhand shop in France when I was there on vacation one time, and this is it. So it's a book about from Renoir to Picasso. It's all in French. I can't read it, but I love the paper. The paper's nice and soft. I love the way the text looks. It has a beautiful typeface. The pattern of the way the text is laid out on the page is really wonderful. And then it has these great line drawings. So it's a joy to use. You know, it goes down well, it glues well. I just love the effect that it creates in the collage. And as you can see, I've used a lot of it. I think when it's gone, I'm going to have to go back to France and get another one. The dictionary is this one. It is a Thorndike Barnhart Comprehensive Desk Dictionary, published by Doubleday in the 60s. And again, same sort of thing. The paper is, nice and soft. I have a bunch of scraps in the front. Again, it has a beautiful typeface. I like the way the text looks on the page. It has all kinds of little illustrations that are just charming, you know, and you can see how much of that I've used. So we still have a lot of artwork left in this one, but when it's gone, I'm going to be very sad. And then when I talk about painting paper, what I'm talking about is doing things like this. So I take big sheets of drawing paper and I paint them in whatever colors I want. And I saturate the papers so much that they almost end up looking like fabric. The color goes all the way through them, and it gives me great variations in color, allows me to control the colors that I use, and it gives me a way to put my stamp, my handprint in the artwork all the way from beginning to end. About the only thing I don't create is the canvas itself, and give me time. So here's a piece in red and orange. This stuff is just so beautiful. And then when I talk about printing papers, what I do is I monoprint. So it's a special printing process that's by hand. It doesn't involve a printing press or a mechanical, an electronic printer. It's all by hand, but I put layer upon layer upon layer of color and pattern and texture on the paper, one after the other, until I get these wonderful papers with all this texture and color on them. And these are the kinds of things I tear apart and use in my artwork. This is a book page. Look at that one. Isn't that cool? I just love these. So this is the kind of thing that I use when I'm doing, say, the canopy on the tent. I didn't do it specifically for that. I just make up big stacks of these things, and when I want something to use as a canopy on a tent, then I go through and think, oh, that's a great color for that. And I really like the polka dots because that just adds to the fun, joyful effect of the artwork. So those are some of the materials I use. So again, thank you for visiting. I do appreciate it. If you've seen any of the artwork that you like, please visit my Etsy shop, which is lifeneedsart.etsy.com. Thanks so much for visiting.